And live.
Are we on a YouTube or
I failed to do my homework to figure out how to. So we are everywhere, but apparently this tool is not streaming on Twitter as it's supposed to be streaming. But looks like the streaming works only from the phone or something like this. So I need to actually do the setup.
Okay.
It's
YouTube doesn't say we are live now.
Doesn't? Ooh, let's go. Let's check.
Not sure why.
That sucks. That sucks. View the channel. No, it does says. Are you sure? So here is. I even see one viewer watching. So this is a channel.
Okay, it's working for me now.
That sucks. I just heard myself saying that sucks. So it's I see. You opened it just now because it has a latency. Yes, sure. Yes, we're approximately like 10 minutes in the past on the channel. So yes, that's the reason. Okay, now let's check x.com and then we can actually officially start. So x.com doing something. I can see the live there, but it's not the live that it should be. Well, oh well. Episode 101. Okay, I need to memorize this. Okay, ready to start recording. 3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Non-Intuitive Beats podcast. Today, actually, know the episode number. It's 101, brought to you by the Leaders Club that you are also part to if you're listening to us, but do considering elevating your membership status by joining our Discord channel. And today with me, we have Dmitry Mananika. Say hi to people.
Hello, happy Friday.
Indeed, it's Friday and it's happy, and as usually the most annoying voice would be me, Slava Kovalevsky. My friend, how was your week?
Pretty busy, but I still managed to watch Sicario Moe that you recommended last time.
Oh, so tell me, what do you think? So you did your homework, so share it with me.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I think I like it. I didn't love it. Like for me, it's interesting movie. It's really good action and like it's pretty unique story.
Mm-hmm.
But that's much it. Like like I'm not huge fan of war movies, especially when they don't teach you anything like positive. This movie wasn't like very positive. It's like a bunch of really sad people. But I think it's a good like story wise, like it's a short, concise, like interesting characters, something to think about. But that's it. Like, why did you love it?
Oh, so first of all, yes, this is just a solid movie. So just really nice movie to watch respectively. But the main part that I love it is the storytelling. Because again, if you actually take away the unique perspective that Sicario is actually, it's not told from the perspective of Sicario, it's told from the perspective of this woman, and you slowly just realizing that she's not the main character, she's just sidekick, so to speak. If you actually take away that unique perspective, it's an average movie. It's a very average movie.
So we need like a John Wick movie, but shot from someone else. Looking how John Wick just killed a bunch of people in a collab or something.
Yeah, it could be like, if you take away that perspective, it could be a cheap John Wick that is not John Wick. So why you should even watch it?
Oh, it's like it's a policeman who tried to figure out why there's like so many deaths recently in the city where John Wick is.
Oh, yes, actually, yes. And if John Wick would be a game, I'm pretty sure DLC like that would be released. 100%. It's for the Half-Life. Yes, for the Half-Life, there was so many DLC where you can play as a janitor. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, have you seen Boys? There's a 4th season. Like there are already 5 episodes, I think. I only watched 4.
No, unfortunately, I have not. No one in my household loves boys except me. This means that I will not be watching them anytime soon. So what can you tell me? Is it good?
It's still entertaining, like the same characters. I think they have something to build. They completely diverge from comics. So for me, it's interesting because I don't know where story goes. So we'll see. I think they have like more time. They probably decided to run it for a long time. So they spent more time building characters. They did some character building before, but like only for a few of them. But now they try to show like a story and motivation for all of them, which is nice, I think.
I see. Well, a good example that there is no what's the correct word, that the people are not hating superheroes, they're watching it, but yes, you just need to have a plot right. My friends, I wish I will watch The Voice one day I'll join. I watched half of the first season and then I stopped. Oh, by the way, but I read comics. I actually read comics, Boys, and it's decent. I like it. Did you read it?
Yeah, it's interesting as well. I like that in the comics they more. I think in TV shows they start getting to that point. You know, in the comics they're not just some random guys who try to kill superheroes. They're more like a CIA agents, not really CIA, but more like a government agents who like actually sponsor it and their finances comes from government. So it was like explaining more why they survived for so long.
Yeah, I agree. There was some indeed better plot twists and plot ideas from the comics that I definitely liked more. But to be fair, there is part of the comics that like was just boring in the sense that they need to have airtime and they're releasing some episodes that you can skip and nothing will change in the storyline.
That's true.
Okay, so what about, you mentioned that you're keeping up with your new habit of talking to your artificial person with you in the car. How is that going?
I found before I mentioned that it's good for like a history knowledge, something that you learn mostly for fun, not relying on it. But I found another interesting usage for knowledge that related to my work, like to engineering, to software engineering. And I found it's really good to explore concepts in a wide directions. Like it may not be good like to go very deep, especially if you like listen, right? Like it's hard to think about if it like shows you code. ChargerPT actually says, hey, I print a code, but it's in a history. You can take a look. Obviously, I don't want. But it's very good to explore concepts that you're not familiar with. One particular example I was interested in what modern ways to do concurrency exist in modern programming languages. Besides like async await functions, coroutines, like what are there. And ChatGPT was very good, like explaining me like, okay, here are like 4 or 5 like concepts that people use. That's the pros cons, and then you can start poking around like deeper, and it's pretty decent. I think it's a nice format because often you need to do some research like this, like new concepts, and you don't really want to like see it and behind computer. Like you can just like walk or do your stuff and do it. I'm continue using it. I'm still waiting for them to introduce what they show on recent presentation.
Oh, you still don't have interruption?
No, it's they don't have interaction. Like you can tap a screen, and it will stop talking, and then you could continue, but that's it.
I see. Okay, I would love to hear your feedback the moment they will release it. And I just realized. I hope that what you describe is an amazing use case. I really hope that more and more people will be doing that. And honestly, if I would be commuting still, I probably would be doing this as well. I really don't want to do it on a motorcycle, but on the car, yes, 100%. And I now thinking. Imagine that you're talking to it and it describes to you something and partly hallucinate. But ChatGPT can be very convincing.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm talking, right? Like I'm talking about like very like not deep topics. It's usually not bad on not deep topics. And probably if I want to like investigate them later, I will double check, right? So it's not something that I need to make a decision right now. It's just more exploring some information.
Makes sense. Man, I really want to try this use case. I just don't have any proper setup. I don't know where, but really want to try. Maybe jogging, during the jogging, I will try to see it. But yeah, anyway. Okay. I want to ask you something. Remember there was a scandal with Unity where Unity introduced a completely fucked up pricing model.
And when you tell Unity, you mean Unity game engine, right?
Yes, Unity game engine. Yes. And the guy eventually got fired for doing that.
I think someone was fired, but they also rolled back some of their decisions.
Yes. So,
not all of them, but some of them.
Yes, but the guy who introduced it, I actually don't know if he got fired or he left or he got invited to resign, but the guy was no longer there. So this guy reappeared as a new CEO of Cruise.
Well, very obvious change. Like from making game engine to making real world cars.
To be fair, a lot of the simulation are happening on top of game engines, which is funny, but it is actually true. And yes, game engines in many cases are not designed to many things that car manufacturers need them to do.
Sure, I'm not arguing like they're like, but I think like car on the roads has like very different scope of work for CO. You know, like I think like technology is like very small piece of all of this, like regulations and other stuff, like operations. It feels like it's much more.
That is true. That is 100% true. But what I came, and by the way, this is probably just overall my opinion, not related to this specific CEO. But what I came to realize is. Problem in AI, so especially in self-driving, is actually problem simulation. Almost nothing else there comes close to such a hard topic. Model you can easily scale on by driving manually, and then you will bottleneck on amount of use cases. Releasing you can easily test on the roads, and then you will bottleneck on the amount of use cases again that you see on the road. Almost everything bottlenecks on the simulation, and the simulation is unsolved on the market problem just by design. Philosophically, you cannot have simulation that exactly mimics the real world. So the government...
That's why I would understand like hiring CTO from Unity, let's say. But I don't understand, like, because CEO is supposed to like tackle like much wider set of problems. But again, I'm not hiring CEO, so I don't know how it works.
I agree with you 100%. So this, as I mentioned, this is probably unrelated to this because for CEO, I actually agree with you. But there is another angle that I really like. Since Kyle left, there was really no CEO. The Cruise was up in the air, and no one knew what the plan for the GM and other entities to do with Cruise. And having a CEO at least give a strong signal that they're not planning, for example, completely absorb Cruise and create just a group within General Motors. So to me, it's a signal that it will be a standalone company moving forward. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but it is what it is.
You'll see.
Last thing that I wanted to quickly warm up to talk with you as a warm-up topic. Have you watched presidential debates?
No, I actually won't. Maybe I'll watch this evening. I really want to.
Then I'm not going to spoil much. Let's actually discuss it next time then, with only one caveat. It's really, really hard not to laugh by looking on the face of Biden. Like his face is, you can create so many memes, and I don't know, it's just when you will be watching, when Trump is speaking, look on the TV and watch it so you can watch the Biden face when he's silent and listening. It just, obviously this has nothing to do with what he's saying. It shouldn't be reflected on his position, so to speak, but it's really hard not to laugh at that point. Okay. I have several topics I brought today, and the first one, do you know the company John Deere?
No, I was looking not so like, is it like some guy or politician or whoever?
No. This is one of the biggest company that producing agricultural equipment, tractors, combines, hays, you name it. They probably have it. This is like Apple among those type of technique. costs a lot. And by the way, similar as Apple, you have tons of the restriction. For example, you cannot maintain or fix it not in the certified dealership.
Oh, I've seen like something about it. Like this like right to fix things.
Yep.
It was like in a mobile, but it was actually people mentioned that in a farming it happens a lot. Like you can have a tractor, and if it fails, you just need to pay someone a lot money.
That's that evil company that actually started the whole messiness around right to repair, and there was a lot of people were suing them. I don't remember what was the conclusion in the end, if I agreed or the win or not. But to be fair, the more complicated things you build, the more things you can do to prevent people from repairing your devices anyway. For example, forbidding to give the software for debugging. That's might kill a lot of stuff. But here is actually the reason why I brought it up. So John Deere is doing a very silent revolution in the agriculture. First of all, why actually this is a thing, and then how they playing along, and how I learned about this. So let's start with why this is extremely important. The size of the land that we can cultivate and actually grow something slowly reaches plateau already. So it's growing, but it's reaching the saturation level. It's not planned to be growing as fast as it used to, while the population of the planet keeps growing. It will plateau, but it will plateau at some point in the future, while the size of the lands are plateauing already. And as a result, we have to keep producing more for either on the same size or even on smaller size. And there is many ways how to address it, but one of the ways to address it is actually automating that. And I will tell why. But the John Deere is effectively the company that's building equipment and moving all in on the AI.
Okay, can you explain me, if we have like 1 square mile or kilometer of land and we grow something, how AI would help unless you start building vertically?
Yes, so there is several things how AI actually helps already, because they not only introducing AI for cases like self-driving, but for other stuff as well. So if you farming the land, you have to, for example, drive and plant the seeds, right? The simple example, you need to plant the seeds.
Okay.
Now, the planting the seeds, if it's done manually, results in the fact that you need to grow in the snake-like shape on your 1 square miles, and when you go in the snake-like shape up and down towards your parcel, you have two options. Either you will try to drive closer to the line that you just draw and cover everything, and in this case you will be double covering. Human being cannot physically drive in the way that exactly will separate seeding where he drove from the another place. So you will roughly percent-wise up to 10% of the field you will cover with seeds twice.
Okay.
If you have non-square field, it's much worse, because now you need to drive in a very weird shape and make sure that you're not overlapping, and you will be overlapping. Because the other use case, if you're not overlapping, you actually have pieces of land that not covered with seed at all.
Okay, I understand the idea, right? But it feels like AI here is just like another bullshit, because this is like more about positioning, precision of like. I'm pretty sure you can make this work without any AI, just with algorithms and with the precision devices.
Oh yes, this is a starting point. So this is a starting point where they introduced precision. Indeed, they actually owning and operating a constellation of satellites that's providing GPS-like services that are way more accurate than GPS, specifically for that. That was a starting point. Now, the problem that usually human being, even if you provide such a precise location, cannot and not capable of driving this this equipment.
No, obviously, I'm not talking about human being. Like for even like human being, right? Like you don't want person like to do it manually, right? You only want person to start and then like follow a line on the screen, you know?
Exactly. Yes. So that's where AI come along. And again, this is a starting point. This time on CES, and CES was all about farming equipment this year. So on CES they introduced follow-up of those. One of the very interesting thing was a dedicated application of fertilizers. So right now, fertilizing is just applying the fertilizing everywhere, which actually damages the soil because of over-fertilization and reduces crops eventually. So what they do, they actually literally have a cameras on top of their tractor, and it only spreads fertilizer in the moment where it see the crop that needs to be sprayed. It can see the crop, analyze if the crop needs fertilizer, how much it will need, and spray exactly on top of it, so it will fertilize a particular plant, which reduces amount of fertilizing drastically, like orders of magnitude, because the best solution today is just spray everywhere. That's it.
Yeah, I think this is like precision. I don't see how it drastically will increase crops output from land, but it definitely will make it cheaper, which is also nice.
It will not, you're right, it will not increase drastically overnight. But if you look on 10% of the stuff is wasted because you're not covering it by mistake of the driving, then roughly 5% is degraded because you applying pesticides more than you should. So you're already speaking about 15% that you can squeeze, and on top of that, it will make it cheaper.
Yeah, that's probably a really good idea.
And the last thing that I will mention on this specific SaaS, they introduced the full solution for corn specifically, and they actually planning to do corn fully end-to-end on all stages of growing the corn, from planting the seeds up to actually taking out the corn and harvesting. Yes, to do the fully end-to-end without human being. Two things, interesting things. One, this company now becoming more like an Apple, in the sense that in order to have this state, you need to buy specific equipment, like this fertilizer. It's actually a fertilizer that can be installed on a particular tractor, and everything works together, but you're inside of the ecosystem. You cannot buy different other parts from other manufacturing and then try to combine them. By the way, dear listeners, I lost Dmitry. I don't know, because of me or because of his internet. That's to be determined, but I actually lost him. Oh, now he's back.
Yeah, maybe my internet.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea how to quickly check that. But coming back to the topic, so they're more becoming like Apple. You have to use all the devices from them, only from them. Otherwise, it will not work. And they're locking you in the ecosystem, and now this right to repair becomes a bogus point because the technique and devices are so complicated. They have AI, local AI on board. They talking to constellation of satellites. If something is broken, I don't think farmer will be capable to easily fix it.
But it's also interesting, right? It's create one more dependency on technology. Like, if satellites are down for some reason, like network is down, now you can't really collect your food.
You know, you will be laughing, but there was I forgot this event. Effectively, a sandstorm type of the event, when they actually knocked down connectivity to their satellite constellation, and a bunch of the farmers were not able to pick up the crops because many of the things were not working.
And next thing, think about how good they are at cybersecurity. What if someone just hacks this and like start like machines running around randomly or applying more than or whatever? I remember there was like I don't think it was a real attack, but someone actually like proves that it could be done. The cranes in the ports, they put how's called containers on the ships, and people actually control these cranes to put containers. But there is an algorithm which defines which container goes where because it should be balanced properly.
Okay.
And someone found there is a vulnerability that allows you to actually change the output of this program. And people would just follow it, and you technically can put so much heavy containers on one side of a ship that it will overflow.
But to be fair, this is not exactly hacking the manipulation. This is a hacking supply chain of the information to the operator. So you still have not hacked the exact machine and were not able to operate it.
But at least there are operators that can see something weird. But if you like have full farming thing, you can hack it while no one sees. That can lead to disasters.
That's true, 100%. Yes, I agree with you. Nevertheless, I actually extremely bullish on John Deere for exactly this reason. It's needed. It's badly needed. There is really no way back. B, because they're actually building solution. They're building a platform like an Apple. They have exactly same advantages, which is you will be buying John Deere. If you all in on green, you will have to buy everything from John Deere to make it work. It costs shitload of money. Which is not a good news, obviously, for farmers on the one side, but on the other side, if it's actually fully automated, it actually makes everything cheaper. I'm pretty sure it will be sold. And here is the best thing for me as an investor. Now, let me put hat of the investor here. For the last 5 years, their shares have not changed in price, which means that either market don't believe that they will reach this full autonomicity and top the market potential there, and actually this is a real thing, or it not yet priced in for whatever reasons. Same as call options. The price is cheap, dirty cheap. You can buy a call for 2026 and have a reasonable price for it. Again, I don't know. This is not the investment advice. I cannot give any investment advice, but it feels a very interesting opportunity here that I personally took. But ask me again in 3 years.
We need some bot or something that we will remember and call us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I have this set of options that I'm buying really long term for the future. So I'm just buying it and keeping it for the future, to just be there, so to speak. When the time is right, when the price is right. So we'll see how it plays out. Speaking about someone hacking it and doing crazy shit, have you heard the latest news about MH370? Do you remember this airplane overall and the story around the mention? Okay.
Is it one that dropped in Malaysia or somewhere?
It disappeared, yes, over the ocean. Yep. So that was a flight that disappeared over the ocean, and for a long time, the assumption was that obviously it was a catastrophe and something had happened over the ocean. That's why it disappeared. And they still have not found the black box, so there is no devices that will tell what people were speaking on the airplane. So there is not that many things that were discovered, except some parts of the frame, which led to a conclusion that yes, it's dropped to the water, so to speak. Why, that was a different story. And because of that, honestly, I thought that nothing can be figured out. This is a dead end. And when Netflix have introduced the series MH370, I thought, oh my God, this is some bullshit. And they might have interviewed some of the families and things like that. So turns out there is new details about this flight. And turns out there is so many things that got discovered. So it actually was hijacked.
How it was discovered?
So, the thing that I took pause is actually where even to start. So let me give you some of the ideas. The airplane have disappeared when it was moved from one controller of one country to another. And these actually have led to delay from one controller to another to even understanding that planes suddenly have disappeared. Roughly half an hour. And after that, there was several hours confusion that the people were thinking that airplane in a completely different spot. And the reason why this was happening, because satellite system that was employed on this airplane that is not designed for hijacking when there is no satellite handshake and signal sent with a exact location, it just plotting the theoretical location of airplane where it should be if he would keep moving in that direction.
Okay, so there was no data from plane, but
Yes.
system just showed. Okay.
Now, the actual plane at the same time turns to completely different course. There was actually several military facilities that was tracking that plane, but the plane never entered that military airspace, and the military have no clue what's going on, and they didn't care. No one notified them that there is a rogue plane anywhere there, so they assume it's just diverting. Then at some point, because of the systems that were switched off and because the airplane was flying, it with a high level of probability was determined that very likely someone was switching off everything, and that led to also depressurizing the cabin. So everyone in the cabin most likely died eventually from the depressurization because they lost oxygen, except obviously whoever was flying the airplane. So that signals that was a very deliberate move. Another interesting.
How did they know that there was depressure, like no pressure in the cabin?
So the system that sends the satellite signals are one of the most protective signals on airplane. Unless you can actually damage it somehow, which is really hard to do from inside, you literally have to switch off all the power. Not only you have to switch off power that generates from an engine, the airplane will deploy the special turbine that will generate electricity from them just airflow around. You also need to switch that, and when you actually do switch everything, one of the things you're losing is compression of the air to the cabin. The idea that if you fucked up like that, you probably will go to the altitude where you can breathe. And a passenger will have at least 20 minutes of breathing time with their oxygen, while pilots will have a lot of oxygen. And the captain actually, before the flight, asked one of the technicians to verify that the oxygen for the pilot specifically refueled and there is enough oxygen there. Yes. Now, here is another crazy story. The captain actually have a YouTube channel where he was showing different things, including his home setup for practicing flights. And in one of the live videos where he was talking about how to fly, he actually diverted the flight, exactly that flight that he eventually took, he diverted it in exactly same spot where eventually he quote-unquote hijacked the airplane. Presumably, the second pilot was somehow asked to go out of the cabin, and then he tried to go back to the cabin and was left out. And this presumably comes from the fact that at some point of the flight, one of the countries, on the territory of one of the countries, the mobile phone of the second pilot got registered. So this means
Interesting.
It was a brief moment because of the altitude and speed. You're not supposed to, but for the brief moment, one of the cell towers registered the phone of the second pilot, roughly around the time when he still should have been alive, because if he was in main cabin, he still had some oxygen there, supply of the oxygen. Looks like he tried to switch on the phone, and it actually brief moment registered. And that's why they're assuming that it was a captain himself, not the second pilot, and probably second pilot was trying everything he can to get back to the cabin or establish communication. And then effectively, after the military radars lost track and they flew away, something happened. I don't remember why exactly, but looks like now I never remember. So when you're switching up literally all electricity, one of the things you're losing is things that cooling off the computer of the airplane. And they start overheating to the point where the captain had to switch off some electricity. The moment he did it, it starts sending ping to satellites. And they reestablished the satellite ping, but unfortunately, he at that point switched off the transponder and any system that were triangulating the location of the airplane. So they see the ping of the airplane, but they actually do not know the location. So at some point, they only know the radius and roughly the line on the map where the airplane was moving after it disappeared from the military radars. Again, there's another presumption. Presumably, at some point, the main captain, when everyone died, and when the captain actually moved an airplane where he was certain that it will disappear, after that, the plane started behaving in the way that it's completely uncontrollable. Because before he was clearly flying it, he was changing the direction, he was deliberately going to places, and then at some point that have changed. Again, the people presuming that this is where captain decide to effectively kill himself. Maybe he also depressurized his cabin, decided not to breathe, but from that moment on, it's eventually just got down to the water, and that's about it.
Remind me, did they found the plane itself? Or it's never found?
They found parts of it.
So it's like, wait, parts mean it fell apart in the air?
No, because it's eventually dropped to the water, and water in the ocean, they eventually found different parts. They're starting finding it, I think, on the 5th or 6th days after the disappearance in different places. So
it's like it fell apart when it hit the water. And then...
Exactly, yes. Otherwise, there could have been assumption that maybe he ditched the plane somehow, but probably no. And in the end, it was really uncontrollable because he was sending the signals, and clearly he... run out of fuel, left engine flamed out, and he starts doing the circles because only one engine was running until it stopped sending the signal, which signals that it's probably just hit the water. That was it. And the interesting part, the last thing that I really learned was fascinating. Turns out there is many recordings of different radio signals of the same radio stations from different location, and there is a huge bank that's recording it. And one of the reasons why they do, because people keep discovering different shit. In this particular case, turns out there is a way how you can, by analyzing different. Not the lengths, but analyzing different noise on top of the recorded radio waves from the station on the different other locations, you can determine object like an airplane in some theoretical vicinity. If you have a different sending towers and then different receiving towers, and you have a noises, you actually can determine that over there was something in that specific thing.
Interesting.
And they did this analysis to track down this anomaly, so to speak, in the air that's not supposed to be there. They combine it with satellite signals. Satellite clearly can give you where airplane should be on a line because it didn't have the location, but they have a speed in which it's got the signal from the airplane. And that was allowed them to triangulate where theoretically the crash site is. But no one reinstantiated the search because search initially was in completely different location. No one assumed hijacking. No one. But at this point, it's bogus. The black box probably been on the ocean floor 10 plus years. It probably has nothing at this point.
Can you call it hijacking if it's a pilot still? It's the same pilot, technically.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I don't know. I don't know. And up to this day, no one knows the motive. Like neither captain nor the family, no one knows the motive. The guy didn't have depth. The guy didn't have anything like that might motivate you to do so. I don't know. That's effectively the new details. And I wanted to share this specific video. Let me post it. So this is a really nice. This is a really nice video from one of my favorite aviation YouTube channel, Mentor Pilot. Really nice channel overall. And he actually done an amazing, it's trying to run ads right now. but it's done an amazing job of telling the story and trying to stick to the facts, what already actually been discovered, what the conclusion was, how and why. I learned so many things about the aviation overall from this video, and how many things right now it turns out exist on airplane, and how really, really, really hard to make plane disappear. That there is.
Is it only big planes or small planes also have all the systems? Like from what size you have this like satellite systems that you can't really turn off unless killing everyone?
I think it's only on the big airplanes, like really, really big airplanes. On the smaller one, and even. Yeah, big airplanes for sure. On a smaller one, it depends on the airport where you're planning to fly. There is something that you have to have. But even if you're complying with regulation, if you're medium-sized airplane, you're complying with regulations, you're still probably not going to have satellite system. You will have a transponder that sends your altitude and speed and location to the ATC. Because really today, when people looking at the quote-unquote radar, they're actually not looking at the radar. They're looking at the system that receive the ADS-B signals from the airplane themselves, and it allows us very accurately to show the position. If you will switch ADS-B off, then yes, radar is a backup, but the radar is much worse than the ADS-B system. And but you can easily switch it off from any airplane. It's not designed for malicious intent. And the satellite system is really on the.
Sorry, this advertisement you turn on is like just getting all my attention.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I was. Yes, no. It was really weird. Yes, I agree. Yeah, it was really the satellite system that on really big airplanes that usually installed by actual. A big airplane company themselves, and are doing tons of the stuff, including sending the software updates, information about the software, information about maintenance and things like that. It's really not designed for hijacking.
I'm surprised. I know like planes has a lot of duplication, right? Like there's like for power, for everything. I'm surprised they didn't add like batteries for something like this, like to continue sending some satellite signals for like location. Maybe it just needs a lot of power, I don't know.
True that, honestly, I need to rewatch to answer this specific question. But my guess is this system never was even intended for such an emergency locations. That's why I don't think it's considering a P0 system.
Yeah, but more like, like plane crashes, like someone survived, but like you need to know where they are. Having a small beacon that activates, like if plane loses power, activate the beacons that start sending like SOS immediately. I think it's a pretty good, not solution, but I think it's a pretty good idea.
By the way, to be fair, Black Box does have a beacon.
Okay.
It's just you need to be in vicinity of it. Like if you're in vicinity, the idea that cases like this where you do not know where you lost track of airplane should never be the case. You will get the vicinity, and then the beacon will guide you to actual Black Box. But in this case, the airplane was hundreds of miles away from vicinity where they thought it's actually crashed, and that was it effectively. Okay, I don't have other topics. I think we can finish here. We're not up to the hour, but really I don't have anything else on my mind. But maybe you have recalled anything you wanted to chat.
Not really. I think we can make it short today.
Okay. In this case, dear friends, thank you for listening. Have an amazing weekend, and we will talk to you same place, same time next week.
Bye.